What's up, extraordinary people? I'm Daniel, and today we're going to talk about Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Rodrick Rules. So, this movie is a new Disney Plus original film. It's the second in Disney's Diary of a Wimpy Kid animated film series. Technically, they're animated by 20th Century Animation, but they're released under the Disney label on Disney Plus. And they're based on the book series of the same name by Jeff Kinney, who, interestingly enough, wrote both of these movies. The story is about a middle schooler named Greg Heffley who is trying to socially survive public school and survive a rivalry with his older brother Rodrick. Now, I've never read any of these books. I've never seen any of the live-action adaptations that came out, I believe, in the 2000s. I've only seen this film and the other animated film that's the first in the series. And I was not impressed with that first film at all, so I basically had no expectations for this one. And this movie basically met those no expectations. This movie is just so lackluster in every area. The story, the direction, the jokes are all just bland, and even the animation looks bad. This is actually some of the worst animation and visual design I've ever seen in a modern computer animated film. Now, before a fan of the books comments and says, but it's supposed to look like the illustrations from the books. Yeah, I know it's supposed to look like that. The problem is, it looks bad. And there's a world of difference between a design that's meant to be a 2D illustration in a book and a 3D computer animated film. You can't just translate one to the other without changing anything about the design and expect it to work. These character designs, which may have looked good in the illustrations of the books, don't look good in 3D at all. Their proportions are all wrong, certain parts of their body look too big or too small, their mouths weirdly move from one side of their face to the other, and their little black dot eyes just convey no emotion whatsoever. There's no subtlety to any of these characters' expressions, movements, mannerisms, and the character design plays a big part in that, although the animation itself is not great either. It just feels very lazy overall. And I don't really blame the animators for this necessarily. You can't really animate a character to emote when you don't really have anything to work with. And on top of the bad animation and character design, the look of this world in this movie is just bland and boring too. It looks like a movie that was created in 1996 and then rendered using modern animation software. There's nothing about it that makes it stand out or look unique. The visual design of it just looks really outdated. A lot of the graphics don't even look fully processed. Some of them do, like you can tell they put lighting and texture on some of them, but other ones just don't look like they have any texture at all, and it's really a weird effect. It just totally lacks the visual polish of pretty much any modern animated film released in the last 2 decades. Okay, I've harped on the animation enough, so what about the story? Well, this movie is just over an hour long, and it still feels like the story was padded out. There are several scenes that not only feel pointless to the overall narrative, they're just really stupid on their own. For instance, there's a scene where Greg gets milk spilled on his pants while he's at his grandfather's apartment, and his grandfather is in the bathroom, so he can't go in there and change his pants. So instead of just waiting for him to come out like a normal person, he decides to go downstairs to the public restroom to change, only he goes into the women's restroom for some reason, goes into a stall, takes his pants off, and then before putting the new pair on, he decides to look out the door at these women who just walked in, who of course inevitably notice that he's there, and somehow he slides his pants under the door, and they grab them and they see their boys' pants and they freak out, and instead of just putting on the other pants and explaining what happened to them, that, oh, I accidentally went in the wrong room, he runs off in his underwear, and it becomes like this huge chase scene throughout the whole building. And honestly, right now, having a scene like that where people freak out about someone being in the wrong restroom is probably not a good look, given all the transphobic rhetoric going around. But even beyond that, it's just a stupid scene. Like, I literally had to pause the movie multiple times throughout this scene just to process how stupid it was, and just to give myself a break from it. There's also this really dumb plot point that Greg and Rodrick earn these mom bucks from their mom for doing household chores, which they can then trade back to their mom for actual money. And it's like, why doesn't their mom just give them actual money? And the mom bucks are Monopoly money, so Rodrick cooks up this whole scheme to, while he's at his grandpa's, steal a bunch of Monopoly money from his Monopoly game and use that to get his mom to give him money. And it's like, how stupid does he think his mom is? She's not going to realize that he has way more than what she gave him. And also, in an hour-long movie, this is what you want to devote some of the runtime to? The other thing about this movie is, it tries to have this really nice, heartwarming message at the end about how, oh, the two brothers really love each other after all. But the movie doesn't earn that at all. See, the movie kind of tries to make Greg feel guilty for doing only a fraction to Rodrick of what Rodrick does to him throughout the movie. Rodrick is just a completely selfish jerk through 90% of this movie, and he essentially faces no consequences for most of what he does. So I have to wonder what kids watching this are going to take away from it. You know, if they don't fall asleep in the middle of watching it. Overall, this movie was really boring, its visual style looks bad, its story is dumb, and it's not even funny. Like, the jokes here are so lackluster, I didn't laugh at anything in this movie. And honestly, I'm not even sure who this movie was made for. I think most kids are going to be bored out of their minds by it. Fans of the books may like it, but I could just as easily see them being turned off by the bad animation or just the overall lack of any jokes or any interesting execution of the story. I honestly just don't see anyone liking this movie, and maybe that seems a bit harsh, but I don't know. I didn't like this movie. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Rodrick Rules a 2. Why not a 1? I don't know. Could have been worse. I guess most of this movie was like boringly bad, but not necessarily annoyingly bad. Like the Pinocchio remake, which I gave a 1, was just annoyingly bad. Like it was so bad it was just annoying me through the whole movie. But this movie was mostly just boring. I mean, there was the occasional scene, like I said, that was annoying, but most of it was just bland. So at least it wasn't complete torture. It'll just put you to sleep and then randomly torture you. Alright guys, I know you haven't seen this movie, but if you have, or if you've seen the live action movies, or if you like the books, let me know in the comments. Or if you have seen this movie or the first movie in this series and you do like them, please let me know why, because I really don't understand why anyone would like these movies, but you know, if you do, let me know why in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video, and as always, remember that you're extraordinary. I love all of you so much. Bye. 'Cause you're extraordinary.